Okay. Hello, people. Hello, hello. Today is another beautiful day in sunny LA. And we are here today with another episode of Moving Through Conversation. And the amazing guest we have today, Naomi. I'm so happy you agreed to be a part of this. I'm so happy to be interviewing you because honestly, you're one of you really inspire me. Like the content that you post on the internet really inspires me. I still can't believe I have not been to one of your events because literally it's like you know my calendar and you plan it on days that I have.
I just feel like they need to add another day in the weekend because it's like everything Saturday or Sunday and we need like a day in between.
Yeah.
And then we will be good.
But thank you again for joining us. Please introduce yourself to the community.
Yeah, well, thank you for having me. I love what you're doing. I think it's so important to have people share their stories, especially in the wellness space. So I'm honored to be here. Like she said, my name is Naomi Hutchinson, and I'm a yoga teacher, wellness coach, and content creator. And I'm the founder of a company called Healthy and Well, which I started back in 2020 in an effort to create more spaces that were accessible and curated for Black and brown people to be well.
I love that. That was a really good spiel. In another episode, we had Destiny here, and she was like her elevator pitch. And honestly, that was a really fire elevator pitch.
I'll be trying.
Yes.
I'll be in the mirror like, yes, this is what I do.
I need to do more mirror things. Sometimes when I'm in the mirror, I'm like, but okay, I need to practice that. Yeah, because that was good.
Shout out to the throat chakra.
Yeah. Okay. Yes. So I feel like a lot of wellness, just things were birthed in 2020.
Oh, have a moment. This is how it is when I teach on the rooftop. Like I gotta literally like cut.
Just a moment.
Yep.
While this airplane flies those people safely wherever they're going.
Yeah.
Okay. So I feel like a lot of projects were born in 2020, which I think the pandemic was a good thing for some of us, a lot of us. And I think it's not easy to say that, but
yeah,
it definitely gave us time to really hone in on our creativity. So what do you feel like brought you to the space where you felt like not only you needed to work on your wellness, but you wanted to create a community where you could do it together?
Yeah. It was a couple of things. So I moved to LA in August of 2019, and I moved right after I graduated college, and I was...
From where?
Oh, from Philadelphia. Yes. So I went to the University of the Arts in Philly and got my BFA in dance and came to LA to pursue that. And realized very quickly that the industry is a lot more challenging mentally than I thought. And I was struggling to still feel that sense of joy that I felt with dance that I had felt since I was 3 years old. And so that's when I started to just like get more into affirmations and things. I'd actually been doing affirmations in college, but I just really leaned on it more. I started doing yoga at home. And then by the time COVID hit, and I was stuck at home, like that was really the thing that grounded me. And I would just be doing yoga every morning, every night. And I would just go on YouTube and look for people. I was trying to find Black teachers on YouTube, and you know, that's a struggle all in itself. But it just inspired me to really think about what health and wellness is and how I can make that a priority in my life, from what I eat to what I consume on my phone or on TV. And another part of that is I've had 2 women in my life pass in their 40s. So my mom passed when she was 45. I was 10 years old at the time. And then I also had my cousin pass away during COVID, not COVID related, but she had Parkinson's. And she passed when she was 44. And so seeing that just made me more aware of how important it is to really take care of your mind, body, and spirit. And knowing that there is a connection between physical health and emotional health, and just really being diligent about making sure that things are good.
Yeah, really sorry for your loss. I think dealing with loss in general is really hard. And I think also dealing with it in a time where you're not really able to go out and connect with people and all of that is really challenging. But at least good things came from it.
Yeah.
I'm sure that your practice definitely helped you with grief during that time. We were talking about how your wellness practice and grief kind of came together to support your growth.
Yeah.
Do you want to talk a little bit more about that? Or okay.
I can share more. I mean, I think that my first experience with a very deep loss was definitely like my mom. And within that same year, two other family members had passed, my great grandmother and my grandfather. And like when you're a kid and you lose someone, you don't really register all that is happening and what grief really means. I really just remember people giving me journals that I would barely use, but I maybe wrote like a couple pages and would write like letters to my mom. I remember just kind of being afraid of spirits. Like that was something that like would freak me out to the point where I would not sleep in my own room for like a year afterwards. But now being an adult, it almost feels like you have to go through the process again because you're now more aware and you notice how the threads of grief still pop up, whether it's a romantic relationship that triggers it or if it's just a big life transition. And so I think that, the pandemic gave me an opportunity to really sit with my grief in a different way. I also went to therapy again around that time and was able to process some of those emotions. And now I feel like I'm in a space where I have a deepened connection to my mom spiritually, to where I have a picture of her on my altar, and I did a Reiki session actually like the day that I launched my website for my business, and she came and visited me, and it was like the craziest thing. And so I feel like in a lot of ways, the more that I prioritize being well and just taking really great care of myself, the more I feel the presence and the pride of my ancestors. And it's helped a lot with just navigating grief. And even when some things happen, because grief does come in waves, I feel like I can manage it a lot better because I have the tools. So
thank you for sharing that. That's one of the reasons I like host these conversations, because I think like when we see someone in a place, we don't know how they got there.
Yeah.
And I think like sharing your story, the things that you've had to overcome to get here really help people who are going through things. So thank you so much for sharing.
Yeah, thank you.
So you said you were a dancer. So outside of yoga, because anyone that does yoga, that has a platform that does yoga, I want you to know everybody thinks you only do yoga.
I know. It's so funny to me. It's so funny. But no, yeah.
Yeah. Like one time I was at the club, I think, and someone had asked, to exchange information. So I'm like, you do yoga? And you're at the club too? Like,
I have a life. They think you're just like on the mat 24/7.
All day. So what are some things you like to do outside of your wellness practice?
Yeah. One thing is I love to eat. Like I'm such a foodie, and I worked in the food and beverage industry for 6 years. So I was a server at a nice restaurant in Beverly Hills. So I saw some great presentations of food, and I got really into it and got to be in the kitchen and just see everything up close. And it just gives me a deep appreciation for hospitality, for service, for food. I also like coming to this park. Like this park literally is like such a special place for me because I'll just come here on my own and just kind of chill. I love watching my shows. I'm like a reality TV hoe. I hate to say it, but I am. I love the Real Housewives, so that's like my guilty pleasure to watch that. And really just being with friends. I feel like, especially now that I'm a full-time entrepreneur, it gets real lonely. And to go from working in a restaurant and being around people all the time to then being in your own space by yourself most of the time, any opportunity to really like be with people is just very enjoyable, and it just makes me very grateful and I feel charged up. So I think just connecting with friends over food probably is like number one.
I love that. It's hard for me to ask people what their favorite food is because there's so much food. So what are your at least top 3 favorite, whether it's you're cooking it or going out, which
I would say salmon, cookies, and pasta, because I try to be like strictly pescatarian a little bit, but salmon is my favorite, and I love cookies.
I make a really good crispy skin salmon, so
I love a crispy.
It's the crispy skin really sets off the whole salmon.
No, it does.
People that peel off the skin, I'm like, You don't like
And
salmon?
here's the thing. So, like, I kind of stopped messing with the skin for a minute because I couldn't blacken it right in the skillet. So I just stopped doing it. But I started doing it again. I was like, wow, it's really good. But then somebody put me on to doing air fryer salmon. Game changer.
Really?
Yes, because it kind of like gets the edges of it like crispy. I don't know if you could do like the crispy skin effect with the air fryer. I gotta test that out, but it's so good and just like perfectly juicy, just yum.
I still don't have an air fryer.
Oh,
I know. I think my oven is an air
okay.
fryer.
No, they make ovens like that.
Okay, because it has some air mode, and I'm like, what is this?
You should try it out.
I will. I will.
And
I'll
got a
give you.
double door air fryer for Christmas, and it like I feel like a housewife who like got a good kitchen appliance. Like I
The
was
older
so
you
happy.
get, I went into an appliance store the other day, and I was like taking pictures of everything. I was like, this is what I want.
Yeah.
I love this.
Yeah.
Appliances, I love them.
I know.
Especially when you find really good ones.
Yes.
It's like I don't know what to equate that to as a child.
It's like a toy.
It's like when you go to Chuck E. Cheese, you get all your tickets, and you're like, ooh, I want the big prize.
Yes. Yeah.
Definitely. So we talked about what you do outside of yoga. So I'm actually curious, as in, because a lot of people ask also about the transition into becoming like a full-time wellness entrepreneur. And like me, like I do it full time, but it'd be a little shaky every now and then.
Okay.
But
That's a part of it. That's a part of it.
Yeah. So what was your transition like? And do you have any like maybe tools that helped you transition? Because I'm sure they'll appreciate it by me and whoever's watching.
Yeah. So, I mean, I knew that I wanted to leave the restaurant. And working in the restaurant was definitely a huge blessing. I started when I was in college and then was able to transition to the location out here. But once I started my business and also dealing with 2 shutdowns because of COVID and being without it, I was like, oh yeah, I need to like try and get out of here soon. And so at the beginning of 2022, I wrote an affirmation and it said, I will quit Ocean Prime, which is where I was at, this year and become a full-time entrepreneur. And so I would say that every single day, while also doing the work that's required to prepare for something like that, which was just being very consistent in my business. You know, being mindful of like my spending, making sure you have a cushion, you know, you want to have some savings. You don't want to just kind of wing it. Even if you do that, I mean, it's up to you, but I wasn't about to wing it. And then it wasn't until December 16th that I left. And I never knew what the date was going to be, but then it was like, it got to a point where some opportunities had come in and I was like, okay, I can do this. And then also I didn't want to work another New Year's Eve because you're always working New Year's Eve. Like, that's just how it is. And I was like, I'm out, guys. Like, this is it.
Like, which I December, I gotta go.
This is it, because I always go home for the holidays. Like, I gotta be with my family. And I was like, I can't. Yeah, I just have to go. But also, once I made the leap, I felt good. I felt, you know, a lot of peace about it. And I felt like things in my business were pretty smooth sailing for about like the first 7 to 8 months. I would say around like month 8 is when I felt one of those little like shaky moments. And I was like, oh God, we really out here. So what are we going to do? You know? But again, like, I thank God because literally I've always been provided for. And so when you have that faith and you know that you're doing all that you can, okay, taking the private jet to the retreat.
Yes.
Here for it.
Okay, so you were saying?
Yes. So just saying that despite the dip that I had around like month 8 of being full-time, you know, I made it through. And I just had to remind myself that like I've dealt with something like this before, you know, during the pandemic when I was unemployed and I didn't know what I was going to do. God provided for me then. So to keep that faith in that moment was what helped me to get through. And you also just get creative. And I think that's the beauty of being an entrepreneur, is that you are a creator. You create your opportunities. You believe in the possibility of what you can do. And so I think you just strengthen in that way to just believe and to just stay the course. So there are those seasons, it's just a part of it. But the more that you just diversify the things that you are able to do, I think that helps a whole lot.
Nice. I love that. And one thing that your content and the way that you show up really inspired me is because there was a time where I had like 2,000 or 3,000 followers, and I was like, I can never get like partnerships. I could never do the. And then you had Nike, and I was like, okay, it's possible. It's possible. Actually, I got my first like partnership kind of reach out thing for this company, and so I'm really excited about that. So I think that the content that you create, the consistency that you have, the way that you show up, the branding, everything is so clean, so neat, really nice. And I think that it gives people who are just starting out like a reach.
Yeah.
Like I can, okay, she did it, I can do it.
Yeah.
So I really appreciate that.
Thank you. It's challenging at times in the sense that people do consider your numbers. They do consider what your following is, but I've never really been the person that's like, I need to have all these followers, because for me, I know what comes with that. And with a platform, with a lot of eyes on you, that comes more criticisms or more judgments. And yes, there's great opportunities as well, but I think that it's important to really have a good heart posture to be able to handle that. And now I'm in a space where like I'm welcoming it in, and I do want to be seen, and I'm opening myself up to that. But also, I was so like adamant about creating opportunities, even if my following wasn't what it was.
Yeah.
And, I started really putting myself out there. I actually had a crazy experience where I was trying to be like a Lululemon ambassador before I got with Nike, and it didn't work out. And I was like, God, like, what is going on? Because like I had meetings, like things were like, they seemed to be going a certain direction, and then it just was like, no, this isn't it. And I was really upset. And literally a couple months after that was when I received an invitation from Nike. I didn't pitch myself. And that was such a blessing, because I was like, wow, like even me with whatever following I had, like the fact that I just did what I was supposed to do, I showed up, I did it well, like this was good enough. And it really encouraged me. And I can understand how it would look the same from the outside looking in, like, wow, I can do it too. Because you just never know. And it's a reminder to not like count yourself out because of, a quantity.
Yeah. Nice. So what are some things coming up for Healthy and Well?
Yeah.
So I can finally make it to 2024. I'm going to be there on a mat in the class.
Absolutely.
Vibe into your playlist, because I know they fire.
They are. It's really a vibe. It's really a vibe. So this year for Healthy and Well is probably one of the years I'm the most excited for. When I started the business, my first offering was something called the Healthy and Well Black Pages, which is a digital directory of Black women in health and wellness, because I noticed just on my own journey, I couldn't find people that was like me, but I knew that they were out there. And so I put that together, and as I started to grow my business and had to, generate revenue, I had to start with something that was kind of a low-hanging fruit. And for me, that was yoga, and I did the rooftop yoga. But this year, we're branching out, and it's really about connecting with those women and men in health and wellness who come from diverse backgrounds, and creating opportunities for us to connect and also to prosper and to grow our communities together. And so there's going to be a lot of offerings tailored towards people like you who are professionals, who have their own businesses. And I'm doing that through something called the Healthy Well Network. And it's an initiative to do exactly what I said, to bring us together, whether that's through a monthly meetup, doing some like co-working opportunities, also doing some collaborative events. And beyond that, I'm going to keep, serving my Healthy and Well community through retreats. And we're going to bring back rooftop yoga in the springtime as a seasonal offering. So I'm really excited about that too. So probably about April, we'll bring that back, and we'll have some classes and just enjoy the beautiful weather and flow.
Nice. And I think that two things. I want to know where you get your inspiration from, and I want to know from that inspiration that you get, what would you like to give to the community?
Yeah. The inspiration is like really loud. And I say that because I I don't know. It's like that period during the pandemic, which we've talked about. It's just like it was so pivotal in that it got me so clear um, and able to hear what I was supposed to be doing. And it's almost like when you turn a faucet on and like you can't turn it off. And so I get downloads a lot, and they're very clear. They're legit instructions on how to do something. And I don't come from business background. So it's like when I get these things, I'm always like, okay. And my notes app is crazy because I'm just like writing everything down. And I recently found out that my grandmother, she was actually a social worker and a community organizer. And my aunt is doing something similar to what she did. And I asked her, I said, how did, Nina do all this stuff? And she was like, God just works through us. Like, God just tells us what to do, and we just do it and figure it out. And I'm like, that's literally how I feel. Like, that's my inspiration. I get the message, and then I just do it. Now, the hard part is, like, believing in it and trusting in it. And in the last few months, I really relied on, like, my friends and just trusted people to support the inspirations that I'm getting. I mean, what I want to offer to the people is kind of what was my initial intention when I started Healthy and Well, which is just to be a resource. Like, I want to offer people the resources to find people that look like them to help them to be well. I want to make it easy for people to have access to these things. I know that when you're in a place where you're really like not feeling good and you're unhealthy, it can be overwhelming to try and look for someone to help you. And I want to make it so easy, so welcoming that you would want to like take the steps to change your life for the better. And that is what I hope to offer to people.
I'm convinced. I want to be a part of the network.
Come on.
I do.
No, you're already on the list.
Thank you.
So.
Wow. Thanks. I love that.
You're already in the note.
Yeah, thank you. I love that. Well, before we head out, did you have any last things that you want to share with the people? Any events coming up? Any additional inspiration? Any crumbs of wisdom?
Yeah. I would just say to like do what Drew and myself are doing, in the sense that we're connecting with like minds. I think it's easy to want to go for the big brand or go for the person that's higher up. But there's so much power in connecting with people who are on the same mission and who are also on the same plane as you. And I also think that doing that means that you're moving in abundance, because when you're thinking in a mindset of scarcity, you're like, no, it's only me. There's not enough room for all of us. But there really is power in coming together for a shared mission. So team up, and really support each other.
It was like I think it was an Issa Rae interview.
Yes.
Yeah. And I was like, that's so true. Like, I feel like we're always trying to like shoot for the stars, go to this person. And it's like, the people next to you have just as much motivation, hopefully as much like drive, and can really like show up.
Yeah.
And we're hungry.
Yeah.
We're hungry. Like, I think, like in the key of believing in yourself, because I think sometimes when you see people doing stuff that you don't really know, you're like, oh wow, like they're so great. But then when you see the people next to you, anytime one of my friends succeed, I'm like, we did it.
Yes. This is us.
Yeah. So I really love that you're creating a network. I love everything you do, really. I truly do. So I'm really grateful that we got to talk with each other.
Yes.
I'm excited to come check out your offerings. I'm excited to be a part of your network. And yeah, so thank you for your time.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Well, thank you guys for joining us for another episode of Moving Through Conversation with Naomi. There's going to be all of her information to connect with her. If you're a wellness entrepreneur and want to be a part of her network, we'll have that information. If you want to come with me to go to one of her classes, we could do that as well. And thank you for joining us. Peace out. And